What's up everybody, my name is Kason and welcome back to another Pokemon Draft League video. Today is going to be my draft analysis for a brand new draft league that I'm joining. And now my original plan was that I was going to limit myself to only one upload league at a time. However, an opportunity came to me that I just could not pass up. The league that I am joining is Season 3 of the Paldea Battle Academy. And this league features a bunch of awesome people such as Jack, aka Gravy, features Ellie, Onesie Bennett, my guy Darude, who is a great friend of mine and the guy I played against in a previous finals, Gert Bilbo, who is an awesome player, Dashing Sceptile, Nova, the list goes on and on. Honestly, every single player in this league is just cool as hell, and I am really excited to be a part of this. It was an opportunity that just really felt like I couldn't pass up. That being said, guys, a couple things to know about this league. These videos are going to be going up on Mondays, which means for my SPDA Luxury Ball League, I think I'm going to have those videos go up on Wednesdays. So you can expect 2 videos per week from me. Now for this league, the rules are definitely different from the SPDA. We have a 120 point budget to form our team. We have to have somewhere between 10 and 12 Pokemon, and we are allowed 1 to 3 Terra Captains with their own separate Terra point budget. Now a lot of that stuff seems similar to the SPDA, however the difference is the power curve is much higher. This is not a full Ubers league, but there is a handful of Mons in this league that are not typically allowed in your normal draft league, and there are also a bunch of Terra Captains that are not allowed in the SPDA. So this is going to be an interesting draft, guys, and let's jump into it. First of all, my first overall pick is none other than Fenrir the Zamazenta, and now this guy is absolutely wild. First of all, this is normal Zamazenta. This is not Zamazenta Crowned, which I think you can actually argue is better or worse than the other version. For this, though, it's really nice for me. I picked it for a couple of big reasons. First of all, Fluttermane is allowed in this league, which is crazy. That Pokemon is almost never seen in draft leagues, but it is allowed in this one. It is a monster. Iron Bundle is a monster. Chien Pao is a monster. The thing that those Pokemon have in common, they're all slightly slower than this Zamazenta. 138 base speed stat with the Dauntless Shield ability, tons of damage, can even run dual screens, can set up with Iron Defense or Howl. This thing is an absolute monster. I think it's just really flexible, and I thought it was a Pokemon that was perfect to build my team around. Now, I believe I had the 8th overall pick in this draft, so honestly, for all the Pokemon that are not allowed in most draft leagues or most standard leagues, this was actually like the last Pokemon of that group, but secretly this was kind of the one I wanted. Aside from maybe Fluttermane, this would have been my choice number 2, so I'm actually thrilled to get this at pick number 8, and I think it's a great start for our team to build around. Next up, though, I wanted a Pokemon who could just really deal damage, just break down a lot of those big walls on the enemy team. Also wanted a Dark type to try and beat some of the Psychics that could threaten my Zamazenta. I saw no better option here other than the Chi-Yu. This is a Pokemon I have not used before, but good God, does this thing hurt. Choice Specs, Choice Scarf. You can run it with some Flame Charge and Nasty Plot shenanigans. This thing is a monster. It does have Will-O-Wisp and Ruination just for a little bit of utility, but most times I'm not going to be using this for utility. I'm just going to use it to blow holes through the enemy team. I actually drafted this guy originally to be my Terra Captain, which is crazy to think that you can have Terra Chi-Yu. And if the season goes on and if things are not going well, I might actually change it and make it my Terra Captain. At this point total, it would only be capable of having 1 Terra, and I would have to decide that beforehand, so it probably would either be Fire or Dark. But with my 3rd overall pick, I actually found a Mon sitting there that I thought would actually be a better Terra Captain, and that is Ogerpon Teal, just the standard Ogerpon. And the reason I thought this would be a better Terra Captain is because of the fact that it Terras into its Grass type. That's the only type that it can Terra into. It gets a +1 speed boost. This is essentially a free Choice Scarf without having to be locked into a certain move. Pair that with the fact that it gets crazy damage in Ivy Cudgel. It gets really good momentum with U-Turn. It gets Knockoff. It gets Taunt, Encore, Spikes. This thing is literally feels like Deoxys speed in terms of its like utility, but it also just hits like an absolute truck with Terra Grass Ivy Cudgel. I also want to note that the way that speed works in this game, if you have a +1 speed boost and Choice Scarf, it's not basically that you have a +2 speed boost. It doesn't calculate that way. And the easiest way I can say this is that a max speed Ogerpon who has Terra'd with a Choice Scarf is faster than a Choice Scarf Deoxys speed. That is true. I know it's pretty wild. This thing is a monster. I'm really looking forward to using it, and I think Titan is going to go crazy this season. Pick number 4, honestly, was just looking at a Pokemon that I thought could be a good lead Pokemon in a lot of situations. Also saw it as a good ground immunity, and honestly, just an OG Pokemon that I haven't had the honor of using yet. I've heard people say that they don't think he's that good anymore. I'm going to put that to the test here. We've got Odin, the Landorus Theory, and this guy still gets U-turn. Unfortunately, does not get knockoff anymore, but it gets Swords Dance, Bulk Up. It can set up with a substitute. Honestly, with Stone Edge, Earthquake, you don't need a whole lot more damage other than that. You can technically run it physical or special, so it can be pretty flexible that way. But honestly, just as an Intimidate user and being able to pivot in and out, I really liked when I had Incineroar back in the IBL, and I'm hoping that this Pokemon can do some similar things while also being a more offensive threat. And speaking of offensive threats, we've got another one with pick number 5 here. Rock and Psychic type is the Iron Boulder. Now, this is not Terra Iron Boulder, but for only 12 points, I thought this was an absolute steal in the draft here in the 5th round. This thing with Mighty Cleave, Psycho Cut, Close Combat, Earthquake, the thing has crazy coverage. It's got a really nice speed stat at 124, can basically outspeed a lot of those really strong Pokemon right around that threshold. You can run Booster Energy Speed if you need to basically have a good Scarfer without being scarfed into something. Thing could be just really, really nice. Unfortunately, a rock type without Stealth Rock, but that's okay because Landorus has the Stealth Rock, and that was part of the reason I took Lando. I was hoping to pair these two together, and the fact that I was able to, I am just absolutely thrilled about it. Pick number 6, though, I felt like the first 5 options I went with were pretty offensive. Obviously, Zamazenta can be very tanky in his own regard, but I really wanted something that can be a good pivot mon, something that can heal itself back up, maybe a hazard setter. We got an awesome utility mon here with Empoleon, aka Leviathan. This thing with Stealth Rock knockoff, it's got Flip Turn. It just has so many good options. And honestly, with the ability competitive, be careful about setting sticky webs up on my team, because all of a sudden I am just going to run like agility sets with the competitive, and all of a sudden Empoleon can just blow through holes in the enemy team too. So Leviathan, I think, is going to be a really, really nice mon this season. With 6 mons down and 4 picks left to go, my points were getting a little thinner here. Decided to go with an 8-point Pokemon, and I went with the Galarian Weezing. Now, I really like this mon. I've never tried it before, but on paper, feels pretty awesome. It's got Toxic and Toxic Spikes. It's got Will-O-Wisp. It has Pain Split. It also has Misty Explosion, Regular Explosion. It's got so much cool utility, and the fact that it has 3 viable abilities with the Levitate, Neutralizing Gas, and the Misty Surge, so that I can essentially set up a terrain for myself if I want to run something with Misty Seed. And also, with that Misty Surge, can make it so that my Pokemon can't be statused. This can actually be really advantageous to me, because you're going to notice that my team is pretty physically offensive. And one of the big ways to shut down physically offensive mons is by burning them. Well, you can't do that if I have Misty Terrain up. So this mon, I think, is going to be pretty useful throughout the season. I'm really excited to see what we can do with Anima here, and let's head into the next mon. Next up, we grabbed another 8-point Pokemon, and this is Siren the Meloetta. Really excited about this Pokemon here. Normal and Psychic typing, has a really good special attack and special defense stat. It's pretty wild. It can run a lot of creative sets. It has U-turn, it has knockoff, and you can even run Relic Song to make it a fast physical attacker instead of a somewhat middling speed special attacker. So I think Siren has just like crazy utility here. Also gets Thunder Wave to try and slow down enemy Pokemon, which was something that I felt like I was missing on my team. So overall, I think Siren was a great addition here. And my next pick is my next Terra Captain. And now this one is not limited to just the 1 Terra type of grass. This one has 3 Terra types, and it is a monster. We've got Dondozo, aka Typhon, Terra Electric, Terra Fairy, Terra Steel. And the number one reason I wanted to grab this guy, and spoiler alert, he is not in my week 1 battle because he was not on my team week 1. I am doing this after my week 1 fight here. There were so many ridiculously strong Pokemon in this league. The fact that a lot of Pokemon I felt like were lower cost than they are in a lot of leagues meant the general power curve is higher amongst teams than it normally is. And I felt like having an unaware mon who can basically come in against a Pokemon who is setting up to get their stats increased. Unaware basically just ignores all of that. Something who has that has big bulk with a giant HP stat and can also Terra into different types, I felt like could be a really, really nice option here to slow down some of those really big setup threats that the opposing teams may have for me. So I think Typhon can be pretty huge here, especially against some of those really scary Uber threats. But that being said, we have one more Pokemon to add to the roster. And what kind of team would it be with all these Final Fantasy Summon themed names? without Bahamut, the Reggie Drago. Only 5 points in this league. I know this guy is not considered like the best Reggie in the world, but 5 points feels low for this guy. Just being able to run Scarf Dragon Energy, if you're not a fairy type, you just get either knocked out or take half your HP if you're steel or something. Like, this Pokemon is pretty wild. It also gets Dragon Dance and physical spreads, so you can either do physical or special. It gets Earth Power and Earthquake, so even if you're steel, you really can't safely switch into this thing. Like, pretty much if my opposing team doesn't have a fairy type, this guy just goes crazy. So I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I don't know how many times we'll end up bringing it, but I thought this was a pretty cool addition to my team. Also gave me one spot at 80 speed with that speed tier, trying to basically fill a gap that I wanted to try and do. So yeah, this is the team overall. I think I've got a lot of really nice options here. I've got a lot of really strong offense, which I really like to play with. A couple of good defensive pivots with the Weezing and the Empoleon, even the Dondozo. I have all the hazards except for sticky webs. My hazard removal is only in the form of defog, which I think is probably the one weakness that I would say to my team. But honestly, I just really don't like clicking Rapid Spin unless it's a Pokemon that really wants to click Rapid Spin. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. And so yeah, week 1 of the PBA is going to be out next week. We're facing Gravy, aka Jack. He is an absolutely phenomenal player, and I think it's going to be an exciting fight. But overall, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys enjoy the rest of these battles. And until next time, you guys have a wonderful day.